Hello and welcome to Twin Tigers Data. My name is Thomas Kistner and let's get started. Today we will be talking about the Monk class. Who are they? Mostly they're peacekeepers and the best at keeping secrets, even the ones that seem like the dumbest ones ever. Yeah, they'll keep anything from how to kill the big bad monster in your campaign to how exactly gods give birth. They are martial arts masters in every single form imaginable. And also, most of the time, they're going to be oblivious to jokes, kind of like Drax was from every single joke that Quill told. What can they do? Well, just like the Barbarian, they get their Con modifier and their Dex modifier to their AC at all times because they are not proficient at all with any type of armor. This is a great thing, especially if you decide to dump all of your good stats into dexterity and constitution. They can use simple weapons and short swords only. Now, I realize that this might be a small list of weapons, however, this isn't really that small of a list. There are a few classes that have a smaller list of weapons that they can actually have. You can add your dex in place of strength on unarmed strikes, and also eventually you can deal bigger dice worth of damage. At the start, you can only deal d4, while eventually you can deal up to around a d12 and higher. You get to reduce them damage from a missile attack, whether it be magical or regular, like say an arrow, and then send it back towards an enemy with that much damage. You can run quickly across water or vertical surfaces and also move faster without armor, since you can't use any at all anyways. And also you can attempt to stun enemies with unarmed attacks, and also with those same unarmed attacks, overcome your opponent's magical resistances. Now, just like an ability like some of the other classes will get, you can dex save to take no damage instead of taking half damage on successes, and on your failures you take half damage instead. What else can they do? Well, they can attack a few times more, especially if you're using fist weapons, your fists, or your what's called monk weapons, which is essentially any weapon that you are currently proficient with. You can't be charmed or frightened or poisoned, or even succumb to disease. And eventually you become proficient on all saving throws. Additionally, you can reduce the damage taken from a fall by a certain amount. And also, you can't age naturally. However, you do suffer from dehydration and everything else, and also you still can die of old age. Now, these are paths that you can take instead of which are your specializations. The path of the open hand. This allows you to attack unarmed and possibly knock your enemy prone, or knock an enemy 15 feet back, or even make the enemy unable to take actions for their next turn. You can heal yourself up to a total number of hit points, 3 times your total level. You gain the effects of a sanctuary spell at all times, and also when you hit an enemy, and you get to also deal a bunch of necrotic damage on top of everything else. The Way of the Shadow. You cast Darkness, Dark Vision, Pass Without Trace, or Silence as once per day, I believe, and also you learn the Minor Illusion cantrip for free if you don't already know it. When in dim light or darkness, you can teleport 60 feet, and also you gain advantage on the first attack after you teleport. However, you cannot switch places with your allies, unlike other classes can. You can become invisible in dim light or darkness. And also, when another hits an enemy, you can melee attack the same enemy. after your ally has already hit. Now, I would suggest doing this after they've rolled damage, because what's the point of you hitting and them hitting if your ally already kills it? Now, this one has a very small list of things on the slide. However, it actually does a lot. Now, you can cast spells revolving around your elements. However, you can only cast them to a certain level by spending what is known as your key points, which is something that I barely understand. However, as far as I can tell, you get to be able to do special abilities with just the monk class itself. There's more information inside the player's handbook that you can read about this. Now, you use your key points in order to cast the spells. Now, you know a certain number of spells from this list, and I believe there's like 10 or 20, maybe more. However, even then, with this list of spells, you can't cast more than the list of spells that are on there. So, and also at certain levels, you can only cast a certain number of points, starting off at 3 and slowly ending up at 9. Now, this one is from a different book called, and you all know it as Xanathar's Guide to Everything. This is the way of the Drunken Master. You gain proficiency in performance and brewer's tools. When using your flurry of blows, you gain 10 feet in speed, and also you can disengage whenever for the turn. When you're knocked prone, you can stand within 5 feet instead of half your movement speed like everyone else does when they're knocked down. And when the enemy misses you, you can cause the enemy to accidentally hit another enemy. You can choose to remove disadvantage on all checks and saves that you have. And also you can use Flurry of Blows 3 more times, up to a maximum, however, of 5 times. The Way of the Kensei. This one is more of a fighting specific style monk. You get to add 2 weapons that are specifically not heavy or have a special in their description that are also, now you can and you get to those become proficient with you. However, they have to be 1 melee weapon and 1 ranged weapon. While using these weapons, you gain a +2 to your AC, a bonus action to ranged attacks, and also you gain proficiency with art or calligraphy tools. These 2 weapons that you use overcome magic resistances and deal extra damage with those chosen weapons. Now you can also, for 10 rounds, which is also translated into a minute, add up to a +3 to hit your enemy and also damage them. Now, once per turn, you can also choose to re-roll a missed attack. The Sun Soul. This one deals radiant damage from a range, as in about 30 feet, I believe. Now, you can cast Burning Hands, I believe, once per day, and also you get to throw an orb that deals radiant damage if the enemy fails their con save. And also reactionary attack someone to deal radiant damage to them. The Way of the Long Death. Now this one, I believe, is one of the only 2, however, the only one that wasn't cycled out from the Sword Coast Adventurers Guide when Xanathar's Guide to Everything was released, which is where Sun Soul was cycled into for all of you Adventure League players. Now, the Way of the Long Death gives you HP from a fallen enemy equal to the hit dice of that enemy. You get the chance to frighten an enemy, and whenever you just like a very powerful ability from the half-orc, instead of dropping to 0 hit points, you can choose to drop to 1 hit point instead. And also, 2 enemies, you can deal deal necrotic damage to them, or half on a save. All right, now I missed these pages, and I'm severely sorry about this. Which ones should you play? Don't think this one really. You don't want to think about who your fellow players need, or who your DM needs. This one is more of a, what do you prefer? What sounds the best to you, and what exactly do you need in order to feel like you're gonna become the best monk? Now, if you think that that's going to be the Way of the Long Death because you're a neutral evil monk, or say that you are instead a more kind and gentler monk, you might want to go with one of the other ones that aren't as deadly than the Kensei or the Way of the Long Death. Or if you just want to go with someone funny and your party needs some comedic relief, the Way of the Drunken Master is also an option there. Alright, now please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And hey, if you want to share my awful, no good, very bad videos, go ahead. I don't care. I'm an open book. Thanks for watching. Have fun. And please remember, play safe. Adios.